The guest we have on today's show, Abraham Kamarck, has put his product in 1,200 Wal-Mart stores, 320 Sprouts grocery stores, and many other retailers that you would know. And he joins us today to share how he did it and how you can too.
You're going to hear no so much, and people are going to be telling you that you can't do it. And you're going to deal with the pettiest, stupidest things constantly that are people just screwing up. You're going to deal with investors who are asking all kinds of ridiculous questions and, questioning everything about you. And you need to be able to just put up with a lot of that stuff. You need to be able to check your ego at the door and just kind of keep coming at it. So you can't let little things get upset you constantly. Just don't.
On today's show, he also shares how to find the time to start a successful startup business while managing the demands of having a family, why you should keep your day job while starting a startup business, why you must be prepared to give away a ton of free product to wow retailers. He explains why he wakes up at 4:50 in the morning every day. He explains how to find product creation partners known as co-packers, the importance of following up with retailers, and how to get your product in stores. All this and more on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, if you love sriracha, this is the show that you got to watch. Abraham, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you are a man who is changing the food landscape in many ways. You're the founder of True Made Foods. Tell us about this company, True Made Foods.
So we've tackled some of the worst junk food in your refrigerator. Most people don't know this, but the ketchup, barbecue sauce, sriracha, all of them have more sugar per ounce than ice cream.
No.
It's worse than putting a chocolate chip cookie on your burger or on your burrito or whatever you're using it for. It's basically probably the worst source of sugar out there that's very hidden. People don't think they're using a lot of it, but you are. If an average family goes through a bottle of ketchup a month, they're eating equivalent of about 150 donuts a year in sugar, which is about a donut every other day, basically. So what you're looking at, and ketchup is barbecue sauce is usually the worst. You're looking at, typically barbecue sauce like Sweet Baby Ray's has more sugar than soda. So it's basically corn syrup. It's very thick, right? Where soda is watered down. Sriracha is the next biggest offender, and then ketchup. All of them more sugar per ounce than ice cream. So worse than a dessert in every sense. And what we've done at True Made Foods is we've gone back to a more natural way of cooking, something that the way people used to cook back before sugar and corn syrup were and everything. And that's it. We use veggies and fruits to naturally sweeten everything. And we use purees. So we're not using a juice. We're not using a powder. We're using a puree. So that means you're getting all the fiber and nutrients from the carrots and butternut squash and other fruits and vegetables that we put into these products. But the best part is it tastes fantastic. Like, it really, really tastes good. I wouldn't try to sell it if it didn't pass a 5-year-old test. And, that's the key thing is I'm a dad with 4 kids, and that's the reason I got into this, is because I was once a starry-eyed parent thinking that, my kids weren't going to eat sugar and they definitely weren't going to eat ketchup. And I failed, obviously, miserably at that. Like, you try having an argument with a 5-year-old over ketchup, you're going to lose. So and every parent has that push point where they're like, okay, I can argue about the ketchup, or I could just let them get them to eat their dinner. And if the ketchup gets them to eat the dinner, then that's fine. And the problem is of course, that with the regular ketchup, like I said, they're pouring sugar all over their food right there. So it's kind of a lose-lose for the parents. So that's why I kind of invented Trim-Made Foods and started doing these natural ketchups made with just veggies. We started with a low sugar ketchup where we cut the sugar in half, and now we have a no added sugar ketchup. So it's no added sugar whatsoever. It's like all pure, whole, minimally processed ingredients. But the best part is, like, my kids can't tell the difference, and most kids can't tell the difference between our ketchup and a regular ketchup. And our barbecue sauce is incredible too. It's really on point. We've partnered with a pitmaster, Ed Mitchell, who is probably one of the greatest pitmaster in America. He's a legend out of North Carolina, about to open up a new barbecue restaurant down in Raleigh. And we put his face on all our barbecue sauces because he is in love with what we were doing. And so we started taking his barbecue recipes too and, making them healthier. And so we have these very healthy, amazing, and incredibly authentic ketchup and barbecue recipes, and a fantastic sriracha, which we call veracha with a V, because it's all veggies, so it's vegetable sriracha. That's kind of what we do in a nutshell. Everything we sell passes the 5-year-old test because they're the most honest eaters out there, right? So.
I have a lot of clients I work with in the health and fitness space, and they always talk about how Gary Taubes produced a book called Why We Get Fat, and essentially that sugar causes people to gain weight. That's the end of the day. Sugar causes. So if somebody out there is on a lean diet right now, right, and they're just eating nothing but lean grilled chicken sandwiches, but they're putting some barbecue sauce on there, are you saying that that's the equivalent of having like a lean sandwich and then putting like a candy bar on the side of it or on top of it?
Yeah, or at least a chocolate chip cookie. I mean, you're basically ruining everything you're trying to do right there. Yeah, and that's why it's so hard to, in today's world, to eat a healthy diet because of these sauces and these hidden things. Especially if you go out to eat anywhere. Say you go get a barbecue burger at your local burger place, and you think you're eating some healthy grass-fed or plant-based burger. And the barbecue sauce that they're pouring all over it, I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's either Cattleman's Ranch brand or Sweet Baby Ray's, both of which have 16 grams of sugar per tablespoon. For 2 tablespoons, so 8 grams of sugar per tablespoon. Which means if they're putting a tablespoon of it on your burger, you're getting 8 grams of sugar. A typical chocolate chip cookie, a home-baked chocolate chip cookie, has 3 grams of sugar. So just do the math there on how much you're getting.
Let's say right now, if you have just absolutely freaked us out, 3/4 of our listeners are like, frick, I've been eating grilled chicken breasts and barbecue sauce for years. Where can they buy your stuff? If they want to, start having sugar-free stuff. And Devin, let's buy some right now using our Amazon account if it's possible. Where can we buy these things there, Brother Abraham?
Well, you can definitely find it on Amazon. If you go to amazon.com/Trim-Made Foods, you can find all our products there. It should be fantastic. And if you use the code Gratitude25, Gratitude all caps 25, you can get a 25% discount from there too on anything we sell on Amazon. And then also, of course, if you want to go to a store, because it's usually a better price in the store, and we're in Sprouts. Our low sugar ketchup is in Wal-Mart, and then we're on the East Coast in a lot of different stores. Giant Food, Stop and Shop, ShopRite, Wegmans, and Safeway, places like that. By this time next year, or hopefully just in a few months, in 2020, we should be in a lot more stores, including Kroger, Safeway on the West Coast, Raley's on the West Coast, and places like that.
So did your wife come up with the idea for this, or did you come up with the idea for this? Where did the idea for this healthy, when did the idea come about to make this healthy, sugar-free, ketchup and sauce and that kind of thing?
Well, ironically, somebody who was actually incredibly unhealthy gave me the idea. I had known this guy, and he was actually my co-founder briefly when we first started the company. He had tried putting vegetables in ketchup before because his wife had tried hiding vegetables in his food and things like that. The problem is neither one of them knew how to cook, and the products they were making were awful. But when he told me about it, it was like a flash of lightning went across. It was a complete flash of lightning, complete fireworks for me, because it was the exact solution to a problem I've been fighting with my kids over the ketchup and with barbecue sauce as well. And because I knew how much sugar was in those products. And I knew that I could probably make this work because, I grew up cooking in my house with my mom as the oldest child, always helping out in the kitchen. And one of the earliest things she taught me to cook was pasta sauce. Mom's Southern Italian, she's Sicilian, and she taught me to cook pasta sauce really early. And we always used carrots as a natural sweetener. My mom always said lazy Italians use sugar. So we never used sugar in any of our cooking at home. And so I was looking at it and realized that, that's the way, if you look across a lot of different cuisines, that's the way people used to use to sweeten soups and sauces and things like this. It was always like carrots or some type of squash or something, or an apple to sweeten these products. And then, as sugar got cheap, it replaced these fruits and vegetables. So that's where we got the idea, and so I knew it would kind of work, and luckily it did.
How do you, did you just get a blender and start making stuff? I mean, did you make a bunch of terrible tasting prototypes? I mean, how long did it take you to come up with something that passes the 5-year-old test?
Yeah, we had a bunch of terrible different prototypes. Like I said, my co-founder had tried to start this before, and he had failed miserably, and his products were awful. So what I had us do, because I knew when you're cooking sauces, luckily I had a little bit of experience in the food industry when I started this. And so I knew what we needed to do was get into a co-packer, somebody with industrial sized kettles, small kettles, but it's still industrial kettles, because the difference between doing something like this, like a sauce on your stove, and doing it in a facility is pretty significant. So you want to make sure you have a scalable recipe. So we went to this co-packer and we took the idea with the recipe with the vegetables, and we just kept increasing the veggies and decreasing the sugars until we got to a point where it was really starting to not taste like ketchup anymore. And then we kind of adjusted it back and just kind of played with that sugar level right there. And luckily, that was our first product where we got down to 50% less sugar, which is still out there.
Wow.
And then once we were able to raise a little bit of money, I hired a food scientist as a consultant, and because she has a lab, like, we can test recipes out there, things like that, and so that helps a lot. Makes a big difference.
So how did you explain to the listeners out there that don't know, what is a co-packer?
Oh yeah, so what's great about the food industry in the U.S. is when you're starting a food company, there are all these what you call co-manufacturers or co-packers. Co-man is for short. There's a bunch of these companies that they do nothing but produce other people's products for them. So sometimes they produce some of their own products, but for the most part, a lot of them, they find that it's just a lot easier and better for them. And if you own a warehouse and you own a facility, it's just easier to produce other people's stuff. Now, it's no turnkey solution. You still have to work with them really closely. You got to stay on top of them. You got to make sure the incentives are aligned. You got to make sure that they treat you right, and that they keep your recipe honest, things like this. But you got to find a good partner. But there are a lot of them out there, and there's more growing. There needs to be more. There's a huge demand for it, as especially in better for you spaces in food are booming right now. So everybody's starting new companies and looking for more production. So yeah, even some of the big companies have started using co-man. So
how did you find your co-packer? Did you just cold call a whole bunch of different options there, or did you have a referral from somebody?
Yeah, so the very first one we found was in upstate New York, and I did that we joined the Specialty Food Association. So I joined the Specialty Food Association early on, SFA. And they had a list of co-man by state based on the type of product you were looking for. It wasn't always a great list. It was sometimes out of date. But, yeah, basically I kept calling down until I found a good fit. Found 3 or 4 that looked like good fits, and then kind of visited those facilities and made the decision to go with that one. And then, it's something that you're always kind of looking for a newer or better co-packer. Because if you're growing, you're always going to be outgrowing your smaller one. Or if if you're lucky, you can find a great one that'll take you on and you can grow with them.
How did you get into stores? Because right now, from what I could tell, after having researched you guys, I mean, you have 410 Walmart locations that you're in. I mean, you mentioned Sprouts.
1,200. Sorry. 1,200 Walmarts.
Did you say 1,200?
1,200 Walmarts, yeah.
And Devin, I'm not sure if you'd agree with me on this, but I believe 1,200 is a larger number than 410.
I did go to college for mathematics, and I believe that's accurate.
Okay, there we go. So you're in 1,200 Walmart stores. What was the process like of getting your product into stores? Because so many entrepreneurs out there have a quote-unquote good product that people like, that they have a prototype for, but they don't end up in 1,200 Walmart stores and Sprouts and all these kind of things. How did you get in the stores?
Yeah, so you start out small. Clearly, like when you're first getting started, you start out with local stores, and a lot of some of the bigger stores, even Kroger has like a local program for local stores for a metro market or for a state. So try to find those, and if you can find, usually your state's agricultural association or agric department or commerce department will have links and help you set up meetings with kind of like say if you're in Atlanta and you want to try to get into Publix might have a local program just for Atlanta, which will get you into the stores around there. It's getting a little bit harder because it used to be the key way. Like if you're in 2010, 2012, if you were starting a natural or better for you company, you could just go to your local Whole Foods, pitch the idea, get into your one Whole Foods, and then just kind of keep growing from there. Whole Foods has changed, recently in the past few years. It's not as easy to get in anymore. They don't really take on a lot of local companies anymore either. So it takes a lot longer to get into Whole Foods. It's not as easy. But basically, you want to start small, start local, stay within your region so you can support your own stores. And then, as you grow up, you're going to be able to you'll figure out the system, you'll figure out the category reviews, you'll understand how to contact the buyers. As you get bigger, you'll be able to hire a broker who should be able to help with getting meetings, setting things up, that kind of stuff. And you'll learn the industry and learn the contacts of who the different buyers are at the different stores and when their review cycles are and when you can set up meetings with them.
Do you, with the terms with these stores, are they doing a net 30 or a net 90? Because I don't think a lot of people realize that. I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs are aware that most retailers, they don't pay you the same day that your product sells. Can you kind of explain how that works for somebody out there who's listening, who's not aware of how the process of actually getting paid works?
Yeah, it's one thing to really consider when you're getting started is looking at, especially when you're considering going e-commerce versus in store. E-commerce, anytime you're on e-commerce, even on Amazon, your sales are almost immediate, right? You're capturing those dollars right away. Where anytime you're going through stores, it's a much further. You're so much further from the actual sale, especially it's further from the consumer. So not only are you just not getting paid by the store, but you're actually usually going through a distributor once you get big enough. So you're going through the distributor, and then the distributor sells to the store. Now, most contracts are what they call a 2% 10 net 30. So that means if the distributor pays you within 10 days of receiving the invoice, they take 2% off the invoice. So it's something to consider right there. And then everything else is net 30. Right? Now, this is a big thing in our industry where you really have to stay on top of them for the payments and pay attention to it because they'll say that you'll send the invoice on the 1st of the month. They'll say they received it on the 20th of the month. They'll pay you on the 29th of the month and take 2% off. So that happens a lot. There's not always a lot you can do about it except for bitch and moan. It's one of those problems being a small company and a startup in this industry. But if you can plan for it, that's the thing to do.
So what advice would you have for a listener out there right now that aspires to be the next True Made Foods, and they have a product that actually tastes good? They've found a co-packer that's making it, so they have that part nailed down. As it relates to getting in those stores, would you recommend did you just pick up the phone and cold call people, or did you email people, or how did you get in those first few small local stores?
The first few small local stores, first off, you got to have a lot of product that you're willing to give away for free, because everybody wants samples and everybody wants a free fill. Free fill is the key term in the industry, which means they want a free case of the product and to get started, because they don't want to take on the initial risk of buying it right away. And so usually you can walk into these stores and say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a free fill. Let's see how the product sells. If it sells well, then they'll start paying for the products after that. The challenge is, of course, that they sell the product. You got to stay on top of them, keep revisiting the stores, make sure that if the product is selling, help it sell, doing demos or whatever you need to do, handing out coupons for helping out, creating awareness around the product, and then also, following up with the retailer to make sure that they're reordering, because they will completely forget to reorder too. So you have to stay on top of them with that. So that's why it's very important to start out locally and start out, with neighborhood stores or things that are close to you that you can visit pretty easily on a regular basis. That's always the easiest thing to do.
Did you show up in person, or did you pick up the phone and cold call the first few stores?
We just showed up in person. The only reason you really want to cold call is to find out who's there. If you think about a store or a restaurant or anything like that are very operationally intensive, people are running around. They're dealing with stuff out on the store floor. The managers aren't necessarily just sitting in an office and have time to talk on the phone, right, or check email. So the best way to do it is to grab them in person. So the only reason we really want to call is if you want to do a little bit of recon and find out who the manager is, what his name is, his or her name is, and what time they're usually in. So then when you drop in, you have a better chance of finding them. Or asking the person on the phone, hey, when's the best time to kind of drop in? When is it least busy? Typically, if you're dropping in on a store, something like a Monday morning or something like that, when it's not too busy, not a lot of customers in the store, that's the best time. If you come in with a lot of customers in the store, they're going to blow you off. They're not going to talk to you. So you need to be, empathetic of what the managers are going through too.
What would you say when you showed up? Did you just kind of knock on the door and say, hey, I'm Brother Abraham here, and I've got some life-changing ketchup I want to talk to you about? Or what did you say?
Yeah, pretty much. Listen, they're used to seeing new products. They're used to being pitched new products all the time, depending on where you are and what kind of store manager it is. So, especially if you're going to your local food co-op or natural store, something like that, they're probably used to seeing local products all the time. They may give you advice about what to do. There's going to be some pushback if you're not in distribution already. You want to find the ones that are willing to take on and work with you directly for your early stores, and that may mean connecting in with other food entrepreneurs in your region, and so that they can give you some advice about which are the best stores to go start with. Like here in Washington D.C., like Glenn's Garden Market in DuPont Circle is a fantastic store to start in. They love supporting local entrepreneurs. They do a great job with it. And, it's a great place to help, get your name out and make recognition out for your brand.
So D.C. is where you call home?
Yeah, D.C. I'm in Northern Virginia. I live in Virginia now.
Now, this is a family-owned company, if I'm correct. So I think you and your wife, you guys work together. Am I correct there?
No, I mean, it's my company. My wife puts up with me.
Okay, I respect that.
I would explain it that way. Yeah.
So how are you raising money, or how did you raise money to scale it? What does that look like? What's the method that you went through to raise money?
Well, you want to start early. Well, we got what I did is I went through an accelerator to help launch this company. That's not always going to be an easy way to do it right when you started. I got lucky in that there was a new food accelerator starting in New York at the time that we joined when we first launched. We didn't have anything but an idea, and because this was a new accelerator and they didn't know what they were doing, they let us in. So we got lucky. Typically with these startup food accelerators, they want to see a little bit of traction. They want to see some growth before they let you in. These food accelerators, though, they'll give you something like they give us $50,000 as an initial investment, and of course they connected us with other investors too who are interested in the space. And that was key because as I was a former Navy pilot. I had lived overseas after getting out of the Navy for 8 years, so I was, used to working in emerging markets. I didn't really have an investor network, and not having an investor network can be a killer when you're starting a new company. It's very hard to find early stage investors in food, and in depending on your region too, like Washington D.C. for example. Here, there's a lot of investor networks here, but nobody invests in food. They're investing in the bigger areas of the industry here, like cybersecurity, things like that. So, if you're in a great place like Boulder or Austin that have kind of thriving food scenes, or Santa Monica, parts of Los Angeles, there are a lot more local investors there. Again, if you want to get into the community, you want to talk to people, you want to find local networks. Like here in DC, we have Union Kitchen and the Mess Hall, which are incubators, kind of shared kitchens. And they have a ton of resources, and they know who the investors are in the area who can help connect you and tell you and they can help you tell you when they're ready, if you're ready for investment too. If your company's ready, if the investors will be interested in you. So finding those kind of networks in your area to help connect you is key.
How did you find the time? I get asked this all the time from people who are new to entrepreneurship. How did you find the time to invest in your startup while also managing the demands of your family?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be stupid about it, right? To put it bluntly. Yeah, you go in, when you're first starting, if you're smart about it, you keep your day job for a little bit while you work on this, and you're just going to have to carve out time from the rest of the week to be able to work on it. I kind of went into this full force right away because I had just been laid off from my last job. I worked for a charity and it ran out of money. So I, kind of went in with a crazy attitude that I wanted to get this done. I think what you have to do with the family is you basically end up giving up everything else. I've got work and I've got my family, and I carve out some time early in the morning to work out.
Yep.
And that's about it. We don't see friends that often. I definitely don't have any hobbies, and I couldn't tell you what's going on in the news.
What time do you wake up? What does the first 4 hours of a typical day look like for you?
Typically, I wake up just before 5 a.m., like 4:50, 4:45, and I go right to the gym and try to make it home by 6:30. And my wife leaves for work at 6:30 a.m., and so usually I make breakfast for the kids and get the kids up, and then the au pair takes over around 7:30, and that's when I start working.
So let's talk about the future of the company now. You're in 1,200 Wal-Mart stores. You're in Sprouts. Do you know how many Sprouts stores you're in?
We're in all of them, so I think they're up to 320, 325.
Oh, this is so cool. I'm going to go there tonight to buy some of that sriracha. Okay, what other stores are you in?
We are, like I said, we're in Wegmans. We're in Safeway East out here in the D.C. area, a Giant, Stop and Shop, ShopRite, Wakefern, Tops Market. In the Midwest, we're in Mariano's in Chicago area, as well as Festival, Sendix, and Woodman's over in Wisconsin. And a spattering, and we're in Central Market in the Dallas area as well, Sprouts. There.
Yeah.
In California, we're in Lassen's, Sprouts, and Gelson's. So.
And so as you fund this thing, I'm not going to ask you, how much revenue you're making or anything that would paint you into a corner, but are you to a place now where it's no longer scary, or does it still feel scary at times?
No, it's definitely still scary. So that's kind of the challenge. Is really, if you think about it, you're really, when you're doing a consumer product like this, especially something low cost like ketchup or barbecue sauce, you're making sense in, CENTF. You're making sense. Your gross profit is, 50 cents, right, per bottle or something like that. And you're losing a lot of that to, promotions and marketing to in-store to, drive those initial sales. So, your gross profit is nothing, and you need to, and it's a scale business, it's a volume business, right? Nobody's going to make money selling 1,000 bottles of ketchup a year, right? You need to get to millions. And so you need to scale fast, and that's why you need investment typically. You need investment or a lot of patience and a lot of time. And that means you need to start calculating on, when do you break even? Well, for a category like mine, there's the potential to break even at, $5 million in annual sales. But if we keep up a really strong growth trajectory and we start launching new SKUs and investing in the company that way, then, we may not break even or get to an EBITDA positive until we're at like 10 million in sales. If you're doing a beverage or a salty snack, which are easier products to launch early because they're faster turn and so it's a lot more dollar sales per store that you're in. It's easier to scale up to that first $5-10 million in sales. But you're not looking at a break even until you get to 50, maybe even $100 million in sales, because it's such a competitive marketplace where you're competing in that grab and go. If you're competing in that grab and go beverage refrigerator right there in the front of the store, which is a cutthroat place to be, and you're competing against all these big players with lots of money. You have to spend money on merchandising. You got to spend money on promotions, constant promotions, where you're practically giving away the product early on to stay on that shelf and keep that place. And you've got to spend money on people going to the store, making sure that other people aren't moving your product around, things like this. So, so there's always these give and takes, and that's why it's really important to kind of start to figure out the economics of your particular category within your industry very early as you're getting started, so you can have realistic expectations of when you think this is going to be a steady state business.
Why? I guess not why, but what is the profit margin? Let's just say that I'm not asking for your margins, but let's just say that I have a product that I want to sell to Walmart, and I think it should retail, that the price that the consumer should pay should be $3. How much does the actual original manufacturer of this product, how much does a guy like you have to charge? And then talk to us about the markup layer, because I don't think people realize all the different markups that are going on.
Yeah, that's the biggest complication and big surprise to a lot of people when they're first getting started in this. Because if you so Walmart's a little bit easier because sometimes you can go direct to Walmart, and Walmart takes actually a really low gross margin. They'll take 25% sometimes. But the average grocery store makes a 40% gross margin on every product it sells in the grocery section. And, Whole Foods and a lot of the other natural stores, they make, 42, 43%, especially on a new item. They're going to want maybe even 45%. So if you imagine what that does to your price, right? And now if you're using a distributor to get to them, there's a whole other level right there, because the distributor is going to also need to make, 15 to 25% on that as well. And they'll be marking it up 15 to 25, sometimes 30%, because there's distributors that do DSD, which is direct service delivery, and they, the distributor stocks the shelf. So they charge the store more, so they mark up your product more. So they'll be marked up 30 to 40% sometimes. So there's a lot of build-in right there. So you're looking at giving away, say, if your product is selling for $3, you're giving away probably almost $2 of that to the distributor and the retailer.
Wow.
As you're going in. You need to be prepared for that, and you need to, at least $1.50. And you need to be prepared for that, and you need to do the calculus on that. Have the spreadsheets out running that to see what's going to happen. But your gross margin, a healthy growth margin that you should be targeting or shooting for, and to have a path to, is to get above a 40% gross margin. Again, if you are a higher velocity product or that's more competitive area, like a salty snack or a beverage, especially grab and go beverage, you need to be above 50% or even higher, because you're, again, on promotion all the time to compete on the shelf. So you're always doing sales, doing coupons, that kind of stuff. But even of a regular grocery area, like a boring category like ketchup, we need to be at, above 40% gross margin is healthy. And then, if you can get to 45 or so, then, that's ideal.
So you're saying, like, if somebody out there has as a food product and it costs them $1 per unit to make, they need to be planning. They need to plan on charging $1.40 for that to the actual retail stores.
Yeah, I mean that's a markup. I think if you did the math for a gross margin, it would be a little bit more. But basically.
Okay. That makes sense. I'm trying to break it down for the listeners now. I have three final questions for you because I totally respect your time. I want to just three final questions, kind of lightning round here. A lot of the people we've had on the show, whether it be the founder of Honest Tea, we had him on the show, and this guy, I mean, he went through just absolute hell and back. I mean, to build his Seth Goldman to build Honest Tea, and now he's doing the Beyond Meat. Or a Guy Kawasaki or a Wolfgang Puck. They all have like an idiosyncrasy that actually is like a superpower. To most, it looks like an idiosyncrasy or something kind of weird, but it ends up being their superpower. Steve Jobs wore the same thing every day. Guy Kawasaki likes to learn a new skill all the time. He likes to go surfing all the time to kind of clear his head. Talk to me. What is an idiosyncrasy that you have that you maybe perceive to be a superpower?
I can turn off the ego pretty quickly. So this is maybe part of going through Navy flight school where they're yelling at you all the time. Like you're going to hear no so much, and people are going to be telling you that you can't do it, and you're going to deal with the pettiest, stupidest things constantly that are people just screwing up. You're going to deal with investors who are asking all kinds of ridiculous questions and questioning everything about you, and you need to be able to just put up with a lot of that stuff, especially in the food industry, things like this. You're talking to grocery buyers and who are just going to poo-poo you and blow you off. You need to be able to check your ego at the door and just kind of keep coming at it. So you can't let little things upset you constantly. Just go stay focused on the big picture.
Don't let the little things upset you. That is just awesome advice. Does it take you about 2 seconds to get over a rejection now? I mean, when you get someone tells you no, or you're like, okay, or does it take you 2 minutes or 2 weeks, or how long does it take you? Is it 2 years? Is it a dark place?
It's not a dark place. It depends on the rejection, right?
Okay.
I usually don't get things built up. So, and I always have multiple contingency plans because then I almost expect the no. So when the yes comes through, it's much better. So I almost plan around the no. So, try to lock in the yeses.
This is so good.
We get, I can usually get over it pretty quickly, usually 2 minutes or so.
I absolutely love this. This interview here is one of my highlights. This is just so much. If you're listening right now and you're hearing this kind of knowledge, this is the knowledge you do not get in college. And whether it's working with a client like the Grill Gun to help them get their product in stores back in the day, or working or seeing my friend Lori Montag get her Zany bands into big box retail stores, and she sold $60 million of those Zany bands, those bracelets the rubber band bracelets in the shape of pirate ships and that kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that I would hear from these people that you don't hear anywhere else. So you need to listen to this show twice. If you're out there listening today, listen to this show twice. Take notes. It's so good. What is a book or a couple of books that you would recommend for all of our listeners as it relates to getting your products into stores, or maybe the mindset you've learned? Is there a book or two you'd recommend for our listeners?
There's a new one that's just come out called Ramping Your Brand. It's literally just launched. I know the author. He's a great guy. He's one of the few people in this industry who actually uses a lot of data behind what he said. Everybody's got opinions in this industry. Not very many people use data or use data smartly. And so he's got great stuff out there. It's Ramping Your Brand by, of course, now I'm blanking his name. It's
I'm going to Amazon right now. You said Ramping Your Brand. Pull it up right now. Would this be by James F. Richardson, PhD?
That is him.
Okay. And Devin, let's put a link to it on the show notes so all of our listeners can easily find it. My final question for you: what advice would you give your younger self? I mean, because you how long were you working on this project before you actually sold anything?
We have a weird story because I dove into this full force like in 2014, 2015. we actually sold pretty quickly. Like we ramped it up really fast, walked into the Fancy Food Show, had a booth at the Fancy Food Show in June 2014. And 2015, sorry, June 2015. And we never sold a product and walked out with $10,000 in POs on that first day.
Wow.
And after that, I was obsessed. I think the biggest mistake I made early on was thinking that I could scale this thing overnight. I jumped in, was way too excited, way too enthusiastic, and again, I can not sleep and just build something nonstop, and that's what I did for the first year. And actually, I should have gone slower. I should have taken my time more, because I scaled it too fast, almost killed the company, because we ended up pushing, not getting the labels right, not waiting until we really had the perfect product. And getting into not really learning the industry enough, using a bad broker, getting into the wrong stores, and ended up getting kicked out and wasted a lot of money, and almost killed the company. And
wow.
I had a bad co-founder too early on. I jumped in with this co-founder, thinking I just wanted somebody to work with, and I was working so hard and so fast that that I missed some things that were key indicators that this person was not a good person to work with. And having to kick your co-founder out too after a year can also almost kill the company. So we had to kind of reset and revamp, and it's really only been like the last 2.5 years that the company's really taken off, and things are really starting to click.
Is the Fancy Food Show, that's an actual name of a big trade show?
Yeah, the big trade shows, there's the Fancy Food Show, there's one in New York in June and one in San Francisco in January, and then there's Natural Products Expo East on the East Coast, and Natural Products Expo West in Anaheim, California, every year in March. And those 4 shows are kind of the 4 big shows in the industry, trade shows, which are great ways to get exposure and do your brand. They're really expensive, so I wouldn't recommend doing them until you're really kind of a little bit more. We had a great luck at doing the Fancy Food Show right away, right at the beginning, but I wouldn't always recommend doing them right away. There's other ways to test your product. Now it's much easier to test your product out and see what kind of demand you get online by setting up an Amazon account, doing it that way. It's a lot less cost intensive, a lot less risk, and you can test a lot more to see how much more direct consumer demand you have. And then when you're really ready to scale, start doing the shows.
So there's a Fancy Food Show in New York and then one in Austin, is that correct?
Yes, sorry, San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco. And then there is the other one is the Natural Products Expo, is that correct?
Yeah, Natural Products Expo.
Cool. You are a wealth of knowledge, and your website's looking good. I unfortunately see a lot of entrepreneurs that have great products and hideous websites. You know what I mean? Where the product is good, but the website looks hood. How long have you spent on this website? This looks gorgeous. This TrueMadeFoods.com, TRUE, TrueMadeFoods.com. I mean, how long did it take you to build this beautiful thing?
Thanks, really appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, we changed the website multiple times. I mean, luckily I had a lot of experience with WordPress prior to this, building sites myself, and I even launched a few sites in PHP. When you're doing a food product, really your website is a billboard more than anything else, an information site. Doesn't need a lot of interactive, and you want something that's secure and that's easy to maintain, right, and easy to design. And then also, when you're ready, get a good designer, find a good designer and spend the time and the effort to work with them, because it makes a big difference. We've been through a couple of different designers, and now we're redesigning again. But I mean, I think that makes a big difference.
Well, at least as you go through each designer, at least they're expensive. We can hang our hat on that. At least we're creating jobs for people. I mean, some of these designers, I'm not asking you to share how much you spend on them, but I mean, some of these designers can set you back, dozens of thousands of dollars. I mean, I've heard people coming in here for some business coaching after they're $100,000, $120,000 deep into a website and graphic design, and they're still not happy with it.
Yeah, it can be dangerous. I would not spend that much almost ever until you're a Fortune 500 company on design, or unless it's, you're the designer you're working with better come highly recommended from people you really trust. And again, I think that one of the problems with working with a designer is you really don't know what they're going to do for you until you actually start working with them.
Right.
So it's key to kind of, again, ask around and find people that you trust who really recommend somebody.
You have been, seriously, we've had now, I don't want to make up a number here. Let me pull it up real quick. On the show, I just want to read this off so that way I'm making sure I'm making an accurate statement here. But so far on the Thrive Time show, we have done a total of 1,830 shows, and we've had everybody from Seth Godin on here to David Robinson to all these big folks. This right here, in my opinion, it's been the most practical show we've ever done. So I don't know if you need a round of applause, but I would say great job. That right there, I'm telling you, this right here sets the record, and therefore you get a mega point, which is redeemable at Sprouts, I believe, for a discount on some of your sugar-free sriracha.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that.
Hey, man.
That's really nice. But
no, seriously, I appreciate you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Well, it's been awesome, and Happy New Year. Hope you have a good one.
Thrive Nation, I am fired up, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's somebody listening right now to this show who is going to have their life changed as a result of what you have just learned, because you now know the proven steps that you need to take in order to turn your idea into reality. I remember when I was at the Dresser Mansion. It's a wedding facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was at the Dresser Mansion in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Everybody look it up. Dresser, Dresser, the Dresser Mansion in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was, this is about 2 years before I sold DJConnection.com. And one of my good friends, Lori Montag, always told me that one day she would become a multi-millionaire. And her name is Lori Montag, Lori Montag, Montag. Her son and I were best friends growing up, and during the summers, I used to travel down from Minnesota to Oklahoma to stay with the Montag family during the summers. And Lori always told me that one day she would be a multi-millionaire. Well, long story short, she created this product called the Slap Watch. A lot of you have seen it. Maybe some of you have owned the Slap Watch. It's SLAP, Slap Watch, the Slap Watch. Or you might have seen her product there called the Zany Bands. They're like the rubber bands that kids used to wear in the shape of pirate ships or different things like that. Anyway, Lori invented the Slap Watch and the Zany Bands. And through just diligence and perseverance and implementing the specific moves that you just learned about on today's show, these exact same moves that you just learned, she was able to get her product, the Slap Watch, onto The View. And some of you probably even saw this show.
And then I love these. This is a watch. You can give them to anybody in the family. These are called the Slap Watch. Demonstrate. These are only, they come in every color. The face comes out, they're $17.95 each. So you could buy.
Slap me, Barbara.
Just slap.
Watch us.
Look at that. So you can buy, yeah. You can do. So they come in all these different.
And then using these same moves, using the Dream 100 moves that we talk about. We have so many shows about the Dream 100 system created by Chet Holmes. But just do a Google search for Thrive Time Show Dream 100, and you can find the shows about Chet Holmes and the Dream 100 system. But as a result of implementing the proven moves, Lori then got her product, the Slap Watch, featured on The Ellen Show.
All right, here's something else I found that is actually really, really cool. These things, have you seen these things? These are called a slap watch. And what you do, because sometimes you don't have time to buckle a watch on, you just got to go and you just do that, and then it just gets right put on your hand like that. Isn't that cool? And it comes in 9 colors, and they have removable faces, so you can mix and match. So it's 9 colors and then 81 possibilities. And the coolest thing is, all of you are getting all 9 of them.
Well, Lori went on to sell over $60 million of products. Over $60 million of products. And it's not because she's the smartest person in the world, although she is very smart. It's because she decided to become a diligent doer and an implementer of the systems that she was learning. She implemented the proven systems, and you can too. That's what this show is about. This show is about diligently implementing the proven systems that we teach on a daily basis. Thomas Edison, who could not be here today because he is dead, said that vision without execution is hallucination. So stop hallucinating and take some action. Come on, baby. Reach out today. Book your tickets to attend our in-person Thrive Time Show workshop or schedule a one-on-one consultation with myself. But do not be a bystander. Do not be somebody who just looks at other people's success with envy. Be somebody who has decided to participate in the conversation about how to dramatically increase your compensation. My name is Clay Clark, and I would humbly ask that you would join me in ending today's show with a boom, because boom stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And that's what it's going to take to make the amount of money that you want to make. But don't spiritualize this idea of becoming successful. Don't emotionalize it. Don't make it weird. It's a linear path. It's step 1 plus step 2 plus step 3. That's what you have to do. And T.D. Jakes, my favorite minister, he just gave a sermon called It's Not for Sale, which you can watch on YouTube. It's Not for Sale by Bishop T.D. Jakes. It just came out December 29th of 2019. And I want you to hear what he has to say about what happens when people try to make the path to success overly complicated and overly spiritual as opposed to being linear and step by step. When people try to remove the laws of cause and effect from becoming successful, and they try to replace it with luck, with superstition, and random feelings of pseudo-spirituality.
Our mentality is we need a miracle. I'm believing God for a car. I'm believing God for a house. I'm believing God for a coat. I'm believing God for a house. I'm believing God to send my kids to private school. I hate to tell you this. There are atheists that send their kids to private school. There are drug dealers that have a car. That's not a miracle. You don't need God. You need a good job. You need to come to work. You need to save your money. You can get you a car. You don't need to call on heaven and provoke the angels to get a car. That magical mentality is killing the church. We are asking God for stuff that we can do ourselves. Oh, God, help me.
If you want a proven path to business success, we have the proven playbook. My partner, Dr. Robert Zellner, and I have been able to build 16 multi-million-dollar companies because we know that today is the day that you can learn these proven systems. We know the proven systems. We know we can teach them to you. We know you can implement them, but nothing works unless you do. So I would ask you this today. What is stopping you from choosing to have success? Success is a choice to make the trade-offs, a choice to get up early, a choice to skip lunch, to hit the deadline, a choice to push through fear, a choice to work on the weekend and to get ahead, a choice to turn off the TV and to open a book, a choice to hold yourself accountable, a choice to hold others accountable. Success is the choice that I make every single day. What is keeping you, my friend, what is keeping you from deciding to be successful today? So when we wrap up this show and we bring the boom, the big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum, when we bring that big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum, I would ask you, what is stopping this from being your day where you will turn your dream life into reality? What is standing in the way of you just barely surviving? And what is keeping you from thriving? It's time for you to take action, whether it's to attend a conference, whether it's to become a one-on-one coaching client, whether it is to subscribe to our online school. Today is your day to thrive. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!
Hey, how's it going? I'm Thomas Crossan, owner and founder of Full Package Media in Dallas, Texas. I've been a coaching client with Clay Clark since the beginning of our business. We started about a year ago, August of last year, I had no clients, no idea what we were doing, no clue really what was going on. And now we've grown to where we've got 6 photographers, we've got office space here. I have an admin, sales person that works for us full time, developing an online system, and a lot of that growth we attribute to Clay helping us. And there's so many things that, his stuff is not revolutionary. It's not this crazy walk on hot coals and all this stuff. It's just real stuff. And like group interviews, we were totally against group interviews. We were like, no, we're different and we're special, and we need to do one-on-one interviews so we can find good quality candidates and not just kind of do this group interview thing. And we tried that and we failed miserably. We did group interviews. Now we do them every 2 weeks. And it's awesome. It works good. We always have kind of an influx of new people that we can train, get going. He's helped us a lot with our website, graphic design, SEO. SEO is another thing that I thought before I started this business and before Clay that it was kind of a joke, or something that only your Apples of the world and Amazon could get to the top of Google. But Clay said, no, just do these things. Follow these steps and you'll get there. And I think now we look today and we're number 2 for Dallas real estate photography. If you don't believe me, you can look. So we're getting to the top of there. That's really cool. It's really awesome to get leads that people will call you and say, hey, I found you on Google. We want to hear about your services. So that's really great. I'd say there's nobody out there that's not a good coaching client for Clay. Anyone, regardless of the business, it's not about what the business is, what the specialty is. It's about following the steps, doing what he says. It's a good thing. An hour a week, it gets you on track and keeps you kind of in line of what you're doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And it's good to kind of give you some flow and future goals of your business. And I remember our first meeting, we set our goals, and our goal was to do 16 shoots a week. And at the time, me and my business partner / girlfriend Gretchen were like, "Oh, we're never gonna do 16 a week. That's just like crazy." And today we're doing 9, and we did about 54 last week. So he's helped us grow. We've put in a lot of hours, a lot of hard work as well. But if you follow his steps and do what he says, there's a lot of principles that he's kind of taught and instilled in us that help us. So. Clay Clark is the way to go. I wouldn't venture out to find someone else. They'd be more expensive and a lot more fluff and no real actionable work and things to get your business growing. So that's the way to go. Thanks.